India, after 1857, for a period, was under absolute shock. The British had absolutely decimated everybody. There was the odd, revolt by traditional India. You saw the Manipuri nobility rise up, or Birsa Munda and the tribals of Jharkhand rise up. But they were not really a threat to the British. So it's really at the end of the 19th century, you have a new kind of armed resistance that rises with this group. And the first generation of them were led by two interesting characters. One was Aurobindo Ghosh. Many of you may know him as Sri Aurobindo. And the other was Savarkar. And what they did was create a network of akhadas, which are known as the Anushlan Samiti. And these akhadas were made up of young men mostly, but also occasionally women, not much younger than most of you. About the same age, I would say. They were in the late teens, early 20s. And they decided to take up the attempt to cause for freedom. They also wrote a whole bunch of books. That is the other important thing to remember. So they were influenced by, of course, Hindu revivalism. They were also influenced by Pan-Asianism of the Japanese, by Mazzini, Irish, all kinds of different influences. But this particular round of resistance basically breaks apart. It happens because many of them are arrested, they're sent off to Kala Pani, hanged in some cases, and so on. But then what happens is that one of the disciples of Sri Aurobindo, called Raj Bihari Bose, takes it up. And he then begins to create another network along with a granduncle of mine, incidentally, called Sachindranath Sanyal. And they begin to revive this network of akhadas. In 1912, by the way, Raj Bihari Bose, not far from here, in Chandni Chowk, threw a bomb on Lord Hardinge and nearly killed him. And most amusingly, he then went back to Dehradun where he was working, and then he organized an event where he condemned the bombing in the harshest terms. And they were so pleased with this that when Lord Hardinge 6 months later came back after recovering from the bomb attack, he was the leader of the welcoming committee. Anyway, then the First World War starts. Sachin Sanyal and Raj Bihari Bose then attempt to cause a revolt in the Indian army. And this revolt nearly succeeds. Just a couple of days before the revolt was supposed to take off, the British find out about it. At the last minute, they change all the guards of all the armories. So this great revolt doesn't actually take off, except in Singapore, where they hadn't heard that this had happened, and the troops in Singapore rise in revolt. But this fails. The Germans attempt to supply arms to various revolutionary groups. Some of these revolutionary groups end up fighting in Persia against, guess who? General Dyer. So you've heard of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre? General Dyer originally made his name fighting the Indian revolutionaries in Balochistan, Persia border. That's how he originally made his name. And here as well, there was a revolutionary called Bagha Jyotin, who was shot dead on the Odisha coast because he was waiting there for the German arms to be supplied to him. They were about to be dropped, but that also didn't happen. The whole thing fails. However, the war ends. The Germans, of course, get miserably defeated, but there is a problem. The Indian troops who had gone to fight in the war begin to come home. And remember, this is 1919, they're coming back home, but in 1915, the same troops had nearly revolted under the Gadarites of Raj Bihari Bose and others, and of course the Sikhs of North America. So what happens here is that the British are extremely concerned that this bunch, now they have, by the way, they are veterans, they have lost the fear of killing the white man, and so they're coming back and they may revolt. And that's the context in which the Rowlatt Acts are. And this is why when even there is small protests, they basically go and shoot them down. One of those incidents, by the way, is now remembered, but there were several. But the worst of them was, of course, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, but there were several other massacres. There's an outrage against this. Finally, some of these revolutionaries who had been caught in the previous round in the Gadarite were released. One of them is Sachin Sanyal, who had been sent to Kala Pani. He comes back and he organizes something called the Hindustan Republican Association. He then recruits the next generation, which is Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, Bhagat Singh, and Chandrasekhar Azad. This lot do carry out various activities. One group of them, the older group, gets knocked out by Kakodi case and all the arrests related to that. Sachin Sanyal, by the way, is sent back to Kalapani for 10 years. Then Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad carry on with this movement.
Sanjeev, tell us the linkages.
What I'm trying to show you is that these people are getting, each group is getting recruited by the previous group. So Savarkar and Aurobindo had recruited the likes of Raj Bihari Bose. Raj Bihari and Sachin Sanyal then recruit the Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar, and so on, and so on. So there is clearly a lineage. And then even when you go to the, I'm going to cut short here because I'm becoming a bit of a monologue. But even when you're in the Second World War, you see this INA being formed. Do remember, the INA is not formed by Netaji. It is formed by Raj Bihari Bose, who after the first attempt in the First World War escaped to Japan. And then in the Second World War, when he got an opportunity, he is the person who came and started the Azad Hind Fauj in Singapore. He was very old by this point, so he invited Netaji to come and take it over.